Welcome back to another weekly edit. This week I'm going to be editing one of my landscape images in DxO PhotoLab 8. It launched about 10 days ago. I made a little launch review, just of the new features that they brought out with PhotoLab 8, namely the new tone curve, lens softness correction, improvements. There was the new noise reduction, or improved noise reduction, even more so, as well as the new and improved way to preview the noise reduction in PhotoLab, which was previously a little bit lacking, in my opinion. Well, I think in a lot of people's opinion, they've improved that, which is quite cool. And then the new U mask as well, which I think was all in all fairly useful and impressive in many ways. But like I mentioned in that video, if you want to go check it out, maybe I'll link it in the description if I manage to see this or remember, that I didn't really think it would warranted an upgrade from PhotoLab 7. However, I also said in that video I really love working in PhotoLab, and I haven't done a complete edit in it yet, the most recent version. So that's what we're going to do today. In advance, I don't know if maybe you've heard it already, I'll try and isolate my voice as well as I can in in my video editor, but my son is having a play date downstairs, so there might be some screaming in the background, a bunch of 5-year-olds running around the house. Anyway, so yeah, let's get into the edit and we'll go from there. Okay, so as you can see, I've got PhotoLab 8 open here, and this particular image, I will, well, I can actually just pull down at the top here instead of double clicking on it. So let's just do that about there. So this image was captured quite long ago, as you can see in the file name there, 2017, in November it appears to be specific, in Spitzkoppe in Namibia, on a workshop that I co-led with a friend of mine. Yeah, it was early morning, sun has just been rising, or just started to rise. You can just see the top of this granite dome being lit up, and we were out doing some awesome landscape images. This particular image was captured with a Nikon D700 full frame DSLR, and the lens I use actually, it's probably not going to be in the metadata, because at that stage it was a pre-release version of Iowa rectilinear. I think it was like a 12mm super wide. Anyway, but what I enjoyed about this, or what made me compose the image like this, was, I'll indicate it with a mouse here, was this line leading sort of the eye into the frame, onto this into this rock feature here, down onto the ground lower down, and then the sun catching the top of this dome, drawing the eye, and then out top of the frame. So it's nice, yeah, again, a nice visual journey through the frame. So yeah, that was pretty much that. So PhotoLab 8, let's get into the edit. So you can click on customize at the top here to head into the customizer or develop module, or when you're in the photo library you can also just double click on the image. Yeah, so here we are in PhotoLab. I mentioned it before as well, PhotoLab does a default, applies some default editing to the image, which you can set up when you initially install the program. So if we just go up to the top here, click on compare, you can see that was the image, actually the raw image, and that is the image with default corrections applied. You can also go look at corrections without geometry. So if you click the compare, it's going to show without the lens corrections applied. Not a massive difference actually. Sometimes it's quite a bit of horizon correction that happens. We'll switch back to that. Now, yeah, I mean, what else can I say? Ah, yes. So the vision for the edit. So with my post-production workflow, or my editing workflow, is basically I like to have an idea where I like to take the image. So that actually directs the way I'm going to edit it in the program. In other words, I'm not just going to pull sliders back and forth and without actually knowing where I want to go. So it saves me time, makes my editing a lot more effective, and yeah, it's overall, I think, just a better experience. So looking at the image, already had an idea in my head of what I wanted to do with it when I captured it on site in Namibia. But in this case, it was to lead the eye through the frame. With this foreground interest, that's actually where the focus was. I didn't do any focus stacking, so if we zoom into 100%, you can see the background there is slightly soft. But nonetheless, it's not a deal breaker in terms of the image, in my opinion. So my vision with the edit here is just to enhance, again, it's a landscape image, so just to enhance the elements that were there. Potentially just sort of work a bit on the sky, bring out those blues and the beautiful orange on the dome there, and increase the overall exposure. Probably going to add a bit of a vignette, or at least around the bottom two corners of the frame, and I might do a bit of cropping because I see it right close to the camera, to the lens here. It's a little bit too much out of focus. Yeah, that's about that. So let's get into it. Okay, I see I'm not quite in the correct panel here, so let's go back to the exposure or light panel in DxO. Actually, so interestingly, so if you click on it again, so you deselect it, then it's got a lot of adjustments, sort of like a default selection, which you can apply. I like to work through the panels at the top here, so I'm going to click on light. Now, generally with the DxO, initial exposure is really off. There's not much you need to do with the exposure. You can toggle that on and then increase or decrease the exposure. I don't often use that. So let's leave that off. One of the first places I head to is the smart lighting. Currently it's set to uniform, and you can adjust the intensity here. So let's pull that up and see what that does. Pull it up quite a bit. So you can see what that does. It basically, it's like a magic little slider that brings down the highlights and opens up the shadows. So let me toggle that off and on, off and on. You can also, currently it's set to uniform, you can also spot weight it and then select, it says no faces detected, but you can also use this little tool to draw on selected areas in the image. So I'm going to draw on this little more shadowy area here. And then I'm also going to draw on this more highlight area here. And then I'm also going to draw more sort of in the mid-tone region. And just click on that again to deselect it. And now, quite a drastic a change, but not a little bit more targeted than before. You just go back maybe to before. So that was the original smart lighting adjustment when I pulled it up. And this is the targeted one. So a lot more effective in my opinion. So DxO has also decided here I want some selective tone applied, highlights are down, midtones and shadows are up, blacks are left alone. Let's just see what that did. Not bad in my opinion. Could maybe bring the highlights down a tad more for the sky. ClearView is sort of, as you can see there is like a little bit of a dehaze adjustment. If we have a look in the foreground here, that's in focus. It adds just a little bit of micro contrast. See the image overall, before, after, very nice in the sky here. It's applied some basic contrast overall. Again, helpful, allows me to do less. Fine contrast might help a little bit with the foreground sharpness. Let's pull it up. Let's go in the history stack here. Let's go back one. Oh, that's quite a significant effect actually. Let's look overall. It's quite strong. So let's zero that out and then take that up to maybe to about 10. And then before, after. Okay, not bad, even in the sky. Yeah, nice. Let's have a look quickly at the before and after. Making good progress. Toggling through the before and after modes there. Tone curve, I might leave that for a little bit later, we'll come back to that. And this is the vignette control, I think, under lens corrections. Oh. Why? Oh, interesting. Doesn't seem to have picked up the... that's why I mentioned actually. Yeah, it was a pre-production version of a lens, so it doesn't have a profile, and in this case never will. So we might have to do some manual correction here. So I'm just going to lighten the corners there a tad, maybe to about 35. Okay. Okay, yeah, good stuff. Okay, yeah, so figuring it out as we go along. Then I'm going to head over to color. Generally, I leave this alone. White balance in this case, it's a little bit warm and maybe a little bit green in my opinion. So I might quickly do my white balance trick by taking saturation and vibrance all the way up. Now I can see I need to bring the temperature down a tad. Let's do it quite a bit actually, because those rocks are quite warm by themselves. And then maybe take the tint up to about 4. Okay, so let's zero that out. And I can immediately see, if we go to before after with the white balance, go down the history stack here, and went from there to there. Much more neutral white balance. Now it is looking a bit cool for me, so I'm going to warm that back up just a tad. Where were we at? 5. I'm going to take it up to maybe 5.1. Let's enter that manually. Whoop. 5.1. There we go. So let's have a look quickly. And a bit magenta. Overdid it there. Okay. Great. Okay, so now I'm not going to be doing any of the black and white rendering, LUT grading. I'm just looking at this image. It's a little bit, I want warmth in there, but I don't want it necessarily with the white balance. So I might actually go to the standard LUTs and go, what do we have here? Forgotten film, no thank you. Red desert. Seeing as maybe it's a desert, should we choose that one? And I'm going to take the intensity way down. And I'm just going to bring that in ever so slightly to add a bit of warmth to the rock. There we go. Very small effect, but just maybe a bit more. There we go, 25. I'm not generally a LUT user, but I'll take what I can get when I'm trying to get things done. Split tone, also in style or toning, you get simple toning, which applies the effect overall, and then split toning, which is shadows and highlights. So in this case, if we quickly just toggle that off, I'm quite happy with the sky. Here in the foreground and the shadows, I maybe want a bit of warmth. So sepia gold, sepia terra. I might actually stick to sepia. Sepia. Okay, so that's for the highlights. For the shadows, I might go, here we just do sepia as well. Just 2 sepias. So for the highlights, I'm going to take it all the way down. Actually, let me just leave that at 100. Then I'm quickly going to adjust their balance. So we take it to the left, it's going to go more to the shadows. Take it to the right, so more to the highlights. Okay, so let's just leave it there maybe. So for the highlights, I'm going to take it all the way down for both. I'm just slowly going to introduce it here in the shadows, which is essentially the foreground. So off, 1. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, lovely. And then in the highlights, let's just add a bit of warmth to that sky. It's not a bad thing. I don't want too much warmth in there. I might adjust that separately. Okay, so before style toning, after style toning. This brings back the warmth of that beautiful Spitzkoppe rock. I keep wanting to say granite. I think it's granite. It's going to be basalt. Anyway. HSL. I'm going to take the Vibrance up a tad maybe. do it too much, see what happens. No, let's just stick to about there. And then I might actually take the saturation down, which is something I do in Lightroom as well. Yeah, not looking bad. Channel mixer, soft proofing, I'm going to leave alone. Now, noise reduction. This was shot at 100 ISO. Let's go back to the photo library quickly. Have a look here. 100 ISO, 5.6, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, so noise, even if we zoom into 100% here, most of the focus is on the foreground, so noise is really not going to be a problem. I do like the sharpness that the DeepPRIME modules bring to the image as well. And seeing as this is quite an old raw file, I'm going to just do the normal DeepPRIME. And we have the new loop tool. Now we can see the difference it's having. So that's the normal size it would be. And then if you click on the white square, it just enlarges it. Yeah, even in the before after, I mean, there's not a massive difference. That brings a little bit of additional sharpness to the image. So click on that again. Now, it's not on. Lens softness compensation is not. It's not on because there's no optics module. Damn, that's one of my favorite features. But I think you'll agree, it's pretty sharp here in the foreground, so leave that as it is. I think so. Interestingly, DxO here ended up, unsharp mask is normally switched off due to lens softness compensation or correction. So now it's actually toggled it on for me because of the optics module missing. Off, on, and just a tad of extra sharpness. We go over to the perspective module, geometry, sorry. It's toggled on, but there's no barrel distortion correction because of the optics module, which is not there. So barrel, let's just see if we pull those corners out slightly. About 15, I think should be 15, should be fine. Yeah, looks good. So from there to there. See, not a lot that needs to be done to the image. I think most of the time's always, as usual, taken up by me blabbing on or talking too much. But yeah, I think all in all, that's looking pretty good, in my opinion. It's a little bit dark on the edges of the frame here. I might crop it in and then apply a vignette or not at all. So now in the effects module, we can do watermarking, we can do miniature effects, you can add some filters, we can add grain. Now, let's zoom into 100% here quickly. Now, the sky is pretty noise free, but let's just, if we add grain, it's quite fine. So, current color profile, we can go to black and white film, getting quite strong there. I want to go to, do we have heel fit 100? I think 400, prefer. And then we're going to go size all the way down to 1, intensity to 0, and then bring it up slightly. You can see, just as an illustration, I've mentioned in a few previous videos as well. So we've added grain. This area here is actually a little bit out of focus, but because we've added grain, it looks a lot more sharp and in focus. I'm just going to toggle off the grain quickly, and you can see immediately it sort of goes out of focus again. Toggle that on. It's sort of like it's almost as if it comes back into focus with increased sharpness. And in the foreground, there's enough texture in the rock here that there's no visible effect. And I find something with grain, it not only adds some perceived sharpness, it also adds some extra details that sometimes gets lost because of the either noise reduction or because of the digital file conversion, etc., etc. So I think a lot of people are scared of adding grain or are scared of noise because they think the sky of an image, or like if you see in this clear blue region here, they think it should be completely smooth as a baby's bottom. It's also lack of a better term, with my 5-year-old running around downstairs with these friends, which you've no doubtedly heard, despite my best efforts. If you toggle that off, you can see it's super smooth, which that's almost a little bit unnatural actually. So I know I've done the noise reduction just to take care of most sort of digital noise blemishes, but then I like to add, actually I'm going to leave the grain in this edit. I mean, I've edited this image before, but it's interesting also how one's preferences change over time. And if you look in this detail here, let's toggle it off. Now it's quite smooth rock, but I mean, it's rock, it shouldn't be completely smooth, but also look what happens if I toggle the grain on in these fine little lines here. It's like more detail comes out actually. Anyway, you can disagree with me in the comments if you want. That's my take, and I'm sticking to it. Creative vignetting, which we can do as well, because I have Film Pack 6, I think, installed. So, but that I'm not going to do now. Trying to keep the time down. Probably going to fail terribly. One of the little tricks I also like to do in PhotoLab, like in Darktable, is it's got the white frame option here. So if we toggle that on, it just adds a white frame around the image, and that almost just calibrates the eye, or allows the eye to calibrate. So now, because I've got white here, I can actually judge the colors a bit better, and we can still do the before. It takes the frame away as well. Anyway, before or after. It's worth a try. Take the frame off. And lastly, no image edit would be complete without some masking these days. What I want to do is actually edit the sky. So the way to do that could be with a bunch of control points like this. Boom. Well, can increase them as well. Like that. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is a control line. You can also do a graduated filter, but that's going to affect everything here. So let's just Control Z that. Now DxO, I know we've got the U mask, the new U mask, and a bunch of other stuff. One of the features that I think DxO introduced in PhotoLab 5 or 6 maybe, could have been 7, the control line. It's like a control point, just in a sort of a graduated filter incarnation. So I'm going to pull that down. And then we've got this little eyedropper here, and I can actually choose a color that I want to be affected. So I want this, most of the blue. I'm not too worried about the clouds. And then we can mask options, and then by adjusting the chroma and the Luma, we can fine tune the mask. So by increasing the chroma, it's affecting less of the cloud, and by increasing the Luma, it's restricting the mask further. Luma would be brightness, but I want this to go to the left so that we have the mask come down nicely onto the rock here, which in this case is the horizon line. I'm going to take this down maybe a tad more so I can affect more of this little part here. And now you can see it's actually, the mask is actually feathered a tad less. Pretty not bad. Okay, so what I want to do with the sky is bring the midtones down. So you can see that happening there. If you quickly go, let's deselect that, sorry. So, before, after, good stuff. And just also want to increase the ClearView maybe, add a bit of character there. It's like dehaze. Yeah, I mean, as far as the sky is concerned, I think that's pretty good. So, that was before, that was after. And I think as far as the color edit is concerned, that is going to be pretty much that. Last thing I want to do quickly is do the crop like I mentioned. So that's going to be up here. I think it is constrained. Yeah, so that's fine. I want to take it up from the bottom here, just like that. Bring that down, keep that on one of the thirds. I'll bring that in a tad. And I want this line here to be closer to the bottom left corner, just like that. That is on, this little feature here is on the lower right hand third. That's on the top right hand third. So it's quite visually or compositionally quite a, yeah, technically speaking, quite a strong composition. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as they say. So let's just close that out quickly. Now, yeah, I mean, color edit wise, I might, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not bad. One or two more things I'm could potentially do, but I think we'll leave it there. Or maybe I'll just quickly do, so yeah, like I mentioned, we have the new tone curve module. It has always been there, it's just been a bit improved for PhotoLab 8. We have the Luma curve, which just affects luminosity values, not colors. And we have the tone picker, so we can actually select that and then select an area on the image and just drag up and down we want to adjust. So I'm going to select sort of a shadowy area there. You can see on the curved line there, our little dot is moving up and down. So more or less, just sort of, yeah, more or less there. Let's select, I'm going to drag down, and then I'm going to go into the mid-toned area, maybe a little more bright, about there, and then drag up. Now, let's get rid of that, quickly activate our highlight and shadow warnings. So shadow warnings, good. Highlight a little bit on the tips of the clouds. I'm not concerned about that. So if we look at tone curve before, after, so that just added that last little bit of additional contrast. And I think that's pretty much for the color edit. Yeah, should we leave it there? I think that's pretty good. Yeah, but further of a demonstration of PhotoLab 8. As usual, if you're only here for the color edit, thanks very much. See you next time. But if you want to stick around for the black and white edit, let's go. So what we're going to do is head back to the photo library. I'm going to right click on the image and I'm going to say create new something or the other. Create virtual copy. There we go. Perfect. So you can see in PhotoLab it's got an LM there for the main image, and then it's got a little icon with the 1 there showing that's the first virtual copy. Pretty sure if we do another one, yeah, it's going to have a 2. So can we control Z that? No. So this is right click and delete. How do I delete that? Create use image as reference, find the remove. There we go. Yes, remove, all good. Okay, so let's double click on that one. And I think before what I did is you can head in PhotoLab, you can head into the color module or panel here. And you can go down to color black and white rendering. And by default, it's always on color. You can click on black and white. It will change the image into black and white. What you have to remember, if you convert to black and white from a color edit, if you apply things like LUTs or split toning, that's going to have a sort of a color effect on the black and white image. So you just have to disable that. So you can see that overall the image here is looking a little bit sort of sepia tonish black and white. So let's take the LUT off, and then we have split toning. Toggle that off. There we go. Now you can see much more of a pure black and white. I just want to actually see what's happening with the LUT here. The LUT's actually not having a massive effect. Let's pull that up to 100. Okay, so it appears the LUT doesn't really have that much of an effect. I'm going to leave that off regardless. Okay, so our initial black and white is a little bit flat in my opinion. So under rendering, under type, we can select generic black and white film, digital film, and under rendering we can go black and white strong, faded, balanced. Okay, so I want to go to black and white film, and that doesn't look good, so we go down to rendering. In the film days I used Ilford film for black and white pretty much exclusively. So let's just go ahead, Ilford Delta, 3200, HP5 plus 400 was sort of my go-to, or 800. I think, should we do that? Let's leave it on that. We can change the intensity. Yeah, I think let's you can see here, I like that little highlight there, so I'm gonna, that's with the full black and white film effect applied, and it's taking away a little bit from that. So I'm just going to draw the intensity down, and then I want to add increase contrast between highlight shadows and midtones, and I'm going to do that via the tone curve. And I'm actually going to pull up the midtones as well. So pull up the midtones quite a bit, so it gets lighter over here. And blacks, I'm going to take up a tad as well. Now on the tone curve, I'm just going to add a fair amount of contrast, which is basically just a bigger S curve. Not so much in the very dark areas, more there. And I'm going to make use of this color picker. So these areas I want to take up. There I want to take down slightly maybe. And right in the shadows here I want to take up this tad. So there you can see how easy it was just to quickly adjust those areas with the targeted tone picker tool and the tone curve. So we go back in the history stack here quickly. Where do we convert to black and white? So, and then we remove the LUT. So that was the initial black and white rendering. And this is where we are now. So the foreground for me looks pretty good. What I do want to do is improve that sky. So I'm quickly going to head over to my control line. And I'm going to use ClearView Plus, which is here. I'm going to drag that up quite a bit. And I'm going to bring down the midtones ever so slightly. And perhaps I'm going to actually add an additional, maybe we'll make use of the U mask for. And so I'm going to click on that. Now I'm going to expand that. So that's the line, that's that line. Okay, so this is that. It's normally, yeah, sorry, that's my mistake. I think normally it would pick up the blues, but it's a black and white. But because it's a digital conversion, sometimes it can still pick up the colors in the image, but probably because we used the black and white module, it is not. So, learning as we go along. So let's get rid of that. U mask, not going to help us in this case. Control line. Okay, let's close that out quickly. Let's go back to the control line. Select that there. And see what we can do with the blacks. Bring that down a bit more, and then exposure as well. And let's bring the Luma up slightly, and the chroma as well to have a bit more of a general effect. Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty much that. So we'll select that quickly. Local adjustments, none, with the control line. Just bring that sky, I think, into line with the rest of the image. And I think we are going to leave it there. I think that's pretty good. Okay. Normal length video, I see, as usual. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I sure did. Like I mentioned, I think in my previous weekly edit, it feels like I really am talking fast, but time just seems to run away. Maybe it's because I'm having so much fun. If you would like me to make a slightly different type of editing video, let me know. I quite enjoy doing these sort of from A to Z, so from start to finish edits, raw, color, black and white. Because I know a lot of the programs, I don't know them inside and out, but it allows me to learn it more, and it allows I think you guys to see how one would approach the edit as you're doing it, not just sort of a predefined, well-prepared, like tip number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 finished. More sort of a real-world example of editing, which is my goal with the weekly edit. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I will see you in the next weekly edit. Ciao.